Russia just invaded Ukraine and the world is on fire. So what is Putin's end state?
They're hitting targets all over the country with precision strikes.
Well, the Cold War 2022 started last night, and the DC neocons have got to be going crazy about now they've got another war that they can actually try to support and make money, but that's a side point. Stick around to the end, and I'll tell you whether or not it's Kyiv or Kiev, or am I just being politically correct? I've been watching the news this morning, and I want to be absolutely clear about this. As a senior intel officer, this was a full-on invasion. This isn't just some cross-border incursion. There's been naval, there's been air, there's been ground, there's been cyber. This is a full-on attack. So what's Vladimir Putin attempting to achieve? Well, we've discussed earlier in another video about whether or not he's a rational actor. What I think is going on right now is Russia is going to bring troops from Belarus and up from Crimea. And he's basically going to draw a line that splits the country into two halves. You're going to have the eastern Ukraine and you're going to have the western Ukraine. And on the eastern Ukraine, he's going to claim that that is an independent nation or an independent sovereign nation. And then he's going to bring in peacekeepers in order to settle that. This is going to be a pro-Russian portion of Ukraine. On the west side, which will be Ukraine, Zelensky will still be the president. But my biggest concern right now is I wonder whether or not Putin is going to attempt to assassinate Zelensky. There's going to be public outcry. I mean, there's already public outcry. The UN is getting together, NATO is getting together, but what can we do? There's going to be additional sanctions going to be discussed.
Today, I'm authorizing additional strong sanctions.
But sanctions don't work. Sanctions didn't work after 2014. They definitely would not have worked prior to this. And for all those individuals who are stating that, oh, well, President Biden hasn't done enough. Well, there was nothing President Biden could do about this. This is something that's been in Putin's playbook since, well, honestly, 1991. Watch the video. I talk about that. So where do we go from here? First, I think all options are bad. We're at that point that everything is bad. However, since this has been part of Putin's playbook in 2014, we know that we're going to have to do something. The first step is to get China to the UN NATO table. Yes, I said China, because China is the only ally that Russia will have in this. And China could be Russia's saving grace because this will provide them financial means. They'll have trade partners. They'll be able to get whatever they need. By getting China to the table, maybe we can drive a wedge between China and Russia, and that would remove that type of asset for Russia. The second thing, Europe's got to decide how far in are they willing to go? Is it just sanctions? Or is Europe willing to give Putin half of Ukraine? I know how that sounds, but that's a decision that has to be made. Europe is unwilling to do that, which I think is a stance that they should take. What do I think the first step is? Immediately bringing Ukraine into NATO. By doing that, the next thing that will occur is, according to the NATO treaty, is that Article 5, collective defense, would kick in, and then that would require all NATO partners to provide not just aid, but physical troops to support the Ukrainian government. Yeah, I just said that. One of my biggest concerns is the fate of Ukraine, is the future of Taiwan.
Every country is closely watching the crisis here, but two countries are watching extra close. China and Taiwan. For them, this is not a far-off crisis. This is a template.
Think about that one. So let's talk about Kyiv or Kiev. And from a geopolitical stance, let's get this straight. If you support Russia or the Russian language, then it's Kiev. If you support the Ukrainian people, then you use the Ukrainian pronunciation, which is Kyiv. So Kyiv has been the capital of Ukraine since its inception in 1991. Yes, the two spellings are interchangeable, and us in the West, we've been doing that, well, since 1991. But in 2018, with the Trump impeachment and with Ukraine being a major talking point all the way through the 2020 elections, the Ukrainian Ministry of Foreign Affairs launched an online campaign, #Kyiv, not Kiev. And the reason being is Kyiv is the Ukrainian pronunciation, and the Ukrainian government was trying to correct the improper transliteration done by Western media. So the distinction between Kiev and Kyiv, Well, it's an important one. As Russia has been trying to claim that Kiev is a city of their own for years, Putin even went as far as saying that Kiev is just a suburb of Moscow. Well, Ukrainians don't see it that way, and they're trying to ensure the separation between them and Russia and them and their historic Soviet past. So it's Kyiv, not Kiev. This whole thing is a developing story, so stay tuned, and I don't think this is going to be a short-lived story. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments. Is Russia really invading Ukraine, or is this a cross-border excursion? What happens next? Kyiv or Kiev? Does it really matter? Let me know your thoughts.